I received a comment under my most recent video where one of the viewers of my video asked me to do a video. Getting a little bit too redundant on video. Anyway, the person asked me to do a video on the relationship between eggs and prostate cancer. And I think this is a pretty good topic. It relates to the fact that eggs are a rich source of a nutrient called choline. Choline is found almost exclusively in the yolks of the egg. Of course, a lot of people throw away the yolk and eat only the egg white. The egg white is nearly pure protein. However, it only contains half the amino acids that are found in whole eggs. Average egg white is about 3 grams of protein. The other 3 grams are in the yolk. The amino acid content of eggs, meaning the high biological value of eggs, is based on the whole egg protein content, meaning the yolk and the white, not just the white. The white is not as assimilable as whole eggs as far as protein content. That's been shown in studies where they've compared giving bodybuilders or recreational weight trainers. They've given them either whole eggs or egg whites, put them on a regular weight training program, and in most of the studies, not all, but most of the studies, the people that ate the whole egg showed better muscle gains because of better quality protein in the eggs. But that's not the topic today. The question that was asked of me is the relationship between eggs and prostate cancer. This came about through a 2011 study that garnered a lot of publicity. The study came up with the conclusion that it said that men who consume 2.5 eggs a week or more had an 81% increased risk of prostate cancer. Now that's very serious. 81% increase. That's scary because prostate cancer is one of the biggest killers of men. But there's a couple of things to consider. First of all, the study showed that this occurred only for lethal prostate cancers. In other words, prostate cancers that led to death. For other types of prostate cancers, eggs had no relationship whatsoever, which is weird right from the start. That's one problem. Second problem is the fact that this is what they call an epidemiological study. It was a study of large groups of men where they could not find a direct cause and effect relationship between eating eggs and prostate cancer, other than the choline effect. Now, here's the deal with that. I'll get to that in a second. But the thing you have to remember about these epidemiological studies is they're only like a general situation. In other words, they can't really prove anything. They don't prove a direct cause and effect relationship. And there's a rule in science called correlation does not mean causation. In other words, if something seems to be associated with something, it doesn't necessarily mean that the first thing is the cause of the second thing. In other words, if I say riding a bike down the street increases your chances of being struck by lightning, because some people that have ridden a bike down the street and have been struck by lightning, it doesn't mean that everybody who rides a bike down the street is going to be struck by lightning. There's no direct cause and effect relationship. And that's the way this study is. And there's a couple other things. Why would choline be involved at all in prostate cancer? Choline is a kind of a semi-essential nutrient. Choline can be made in the body from certain amino acids. And serine, there's a couple others. I don't want to get into the biochemistry here, but suffice to say that choline used to be considered semi-essential. However, over the years, scientists who study the metabolism of choline have realized that the body really does not produce enough choline on its own, and they suggest an intake of about 400 milligrams of choline a day. Why would you take choline? What is it good for? Well, choline, for one thing, acts as a methyl donor. It's involved in a series of biochemical reactions, and among other things, it prevents the buildup of fat in the liver, acting as a methyl donor. Now, infiltration of the liver with fat can lead to fibrosis or liver cirrhosis, and it could also eventually lead to liver cancer or liver failure. Non-alcoholic fatty liver. In other words, there's two types of fatty liver. One is caused by excessive intake of alcohol, but the more prevalent kind is called non-alcoholic fatty liver. It's estimated that as many as 20 million Americans or more have non-alcoholic fatty liver. It's insidious because you don't feel anything. It shows up on ultrascan and certain tests. Could be possibly elevated liver enzymes, but the point is it's very dangerous for the liver because it can lead to severe liver problems if it continues. Now, choline, a lack of choline and a lack of other methyl donors such as methionine, the amino acid, that can cause a buildup of fat in the liver because you need methyl donors in the liver to get rid of the excess fat and prevent the buildup or accumulation of fat in the liver. Now, that's one thing that choline does. Choline also is the raw material for the production of a neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. In the brain, acetylcholine concentrates in the hippocampus area of the brain, which is considered the learning and memory center of the brain. As a matter of fact, most of the degenerative brain diseases, such as Alzheimer's disease, are marked by a precipitous decline in acetylcholine production. What happens there is that I don't want to get into too technical a detail, but to suffice to say that the accumulation of abnormal proteins such as beta amyloid and tau seem to selectively destroy neurons that produce acetylcholine. Some of the drugs used to treat Alzheimer's disease work by inhibiting the effects of acetylcholinesterase, which is the enzyme that destroys acetylcholine. By doing so, it slightly increases acetylcholine in the brain, and it relieves some of the symptoms of Alzheimer's, but it's not a cure for Alzheimer's. So besides acetylcholine in the brain, acetylcholine also happens to be the neurotransmitter secreted at the myoneural junction. This is the junction between the nerve and the muscle. Again, I don't want to get into too much details here, but in other words, to make it simple, acetylcholine is necessary to transmit nerve signals to the muscles to allow them to contract. So acetylcholine is very important for muscle contraction. Therefore, it's important for exercise and athletics. And choline, again, is the raw material. So choline is an important nutrient. Now, where would choline be involved in prostate cancer? Well, it turns out that they found that prostate cancer, tumor cells of prostate cancer, the levels of choline in them are high. And choline could be involved in certain reactions involved with the maintenance of prostate cancer tumors. So that's one of the bases of why choline could be associated with prostate cancer. However, what they failed to take into account is that tumor cells are capable of producing their own choline. So, in other words, the exogenous choline, in other words, the choline you take in from food and drink or whatever, is not necessarily choline that's stimulating prostate cancer. It could be the prostate cancer tumor cells themselves that are producing choline. Still, another problem with this study is if you look at the risk factors for the development of prostate cancer, there's several risk factors. Well, again, harking it back to what I said earlier, it's kind of weird that choline was found in this study, this 2011 study that showed an 81% increase of prostate cancer from choline intake. It's kind of weird that choline only seemed to stimulate lethal prostate cancer. In other words, a prostate cancer that'll kill you, but it doesn't stimulate non-lethal prostate cancer. This, to me, is similar to what they say about IGF-1, insulin growth factor 1, where, in other words, they say that insulin growth factor 1 can stimulate certain types of cancers like prostate cancer, breast cancer, colon cancer. However, the truth is that tumor cells, here we go again, tumor cells can manufacture their own insulin-like growth factor 1 because in tumors, insulin-like growth factor 1 prevents the self-destruction of tumors called apoptosis, and allows the tumors to spread or metastasize. So the IGF-1 that's associated with cancer, does it come from the tumor or does it come from the body? It probably comes from the tumor. And the reason I say that is because IGF-1 in the body, when it circulates in the blood, it's attached to six different proteins produced in the liver called insulin-like growth factor 1 binding proteins. They bind to IGF-1. And as long as IGF-1 is bound to the proteins, it can't stimulate any type of tumor growth. Only free IGF-1. The type of IGF-1 found in the tumors is free IGF-1, not bound IGF-1. I know I'm getting a little tangential here off the topic, but let's get back to eggs and prostate cancer. So if you look at the risk factors for prostate cancer in men, a lot of it, a major reason of why men get prostate cancer, or a greater risk, I should say, is genetics. If you have a close relative, a father, uncle, something like that, who suffered from prostate cancer or died from it, yes, you do have a definite increased risk. You have to be careful. If you have a lot of body fat, what they call a high BMI, which stands for body mass index, which is it's a measurement that a lot of scientists like to use to measure what they call body composition, or the amount of body fat you have. It's extremely inaccurate. Body mass index, it should have been thrown out years ago. It's about as useful as the electoral colleges in electing presidents, because body mass index doesn't take into account muscle mass. So a guy like Ronnie Coleman, who competed at 5'10" at close to 300 pounds, or Big Ramey, their body mass index would be well over 35, which would mean that they're morbidly obese. So it's a stupid measurement. It doesn't make sense. But unfortunately, you see that in a lot of scientific studies, they rely on body mass index as a indicator of body fat, which is wrong. It's not. It's very indirect. Anyway, but having more body fat is a risk factor for prostate cancer. Then you have the unfortunately black men have a 75 increased risk of prostate cancer. It's not related to testosterone levels. Quite frankly, I am not sure of why black men have a greater risk for prostate cancer, but the studies say that's what the studies say that they do. So those are the main risk factors for prostate cancer. Now, as far as let me talk about this here. Well, in one study that was published in 2011, the study discussed in detail how abnormal choline metabolism is a hallmark associated with oncogenesis, or the creation of cancer cells and tumor progression. They concluded that the enzymes in the blood associated with creating, breaking down, and using choline are not working properly, and this causes issues with cell signaling and can lead to cancer. For example, an enzyme called CHK is high in prostate cancer. This enzyme causes higher phosphatidylcholine production in the cells, which goes into the blood and supports the transformation of healthy cells into cancer cells. Keep in mind that cancer cells are growing at abnormal rates, and these new cancerous cells require higher amounts of choline. Therefore, increased blood choline levels are one of the markers of cancer, specifically of prostate cancer, but not the cause of cancer. Let me see, what else can I tell you about this? In the original study, the one I referred to earlier from that 2012, the researchers did find that men in the highest quintile of choline intake had a 70 to 81% increased risk of lethal prostate cancer. But again, this link was not seen in non-lethal or total prostate cancers. The problem with this study is that not showing that dietary choline intake was the cause of prostate cancer. The problem is not showing that choline intake was the cause of prostate cancer. Alternative explanations could include that high dietary choline causes lethal versus non-lethal prostate cancer when prostate cancer is already present. It could also be that eating a lot of meat, milk, and eggs associated with behavioral risk factors developing prostate cancer. The subjects in this study also, I should point out, it's also very important to point out, The subjects in this study that got prostate cancer supposedly from eating more than 2.5 eggs a week all were had excess amounts of body fat. Again, they didn't measure the body fat; they went by body mass index. But they probably were overweight. They had higher levels of body fat, which is a risk factor for prostate cancer. And what's most interesting to me is that they smoked. A lot of them were heavy smokers. Smoking causes all kinds of cancer, especially lung cancer, but it can also stimulate prostate cancer. This study only looked at eggs. They didn't take into account other possible risk factors for cancer. So the eggs might have been an innocent bystander that for some reason, because of let's say the indirect association of choline with cancer, they implicated eating eggs as a cause of prostate cancer, right? The study also found that the link between choline intake and prostate cancer was only found in free choline and glycerol phosphocholine, which comes from coffee, potatoes, skim milk, beer, reduced fat milk, bananas, fish, broccoli, poultry, and soy milk. The link to increased lethal prostate cancer was not found with the intake of phosphatidylcholine, which is better known as lecithin, which is a natural source of choline, and phosphocholine, which are the types of choline that are found in eggs. So, what does that mean in simple terms? The type of choline that's found in eggs does not cause or promote prostate cancer. So, what else can I say? Okay, now here's another thing to consider. Let's look at some of the risk factors. Again, going back to risk factors of prostate cancer, and talk about things that can decrease the risk of prostate cancer. The increased risk, as I said, one increased risk is increased body mass index. In other words, having more body fat. Smoking is a very big risk factor for prostate cancer. And this well-publicized study that found that 81%, all of the men were heavy smokers. It's ridiculous, absolutely absurd. Dietary calcium has been implicated as an increased risk factor for prostate cancer. Why would calcium? Because calcium, when you take in large amounts of calcium, you can deplete the vitamin D content, the activated hormonal vitamin D called 25-cholecalciferol content in the prostate gland, which protects against prostate cancer. This is a kind of nebulous risk factor because some factors do indicate that calcium is a risk factor for prostate cancer. Other factors find no association. But just like choline, calcium is an essential nutrient. If you don't get calcium, your bones fall apart. Your muscles don't contract. You get heart problems. So, the idea of eliminating dietary calcium to prevent prostate cancer is silly and stupid. It doesn't make any sense. Another risk factor for prostate cancer is processed red meat. Not natural red meat, but the processed red meat like delicatessen meats, meats that contain a lot of nitrates, that kind of thing. That is a kind of minor risk factor for prostate cancer. Poultry with the skin. Poultry with the skin is, again, a very minor risk factor for prostate cancer. I don't know why. Animal fat, saturated fat. Saturated fat is a risk factor for prostate cancer. Again, very indirect. And a surprising factor that's listed as a surprising risk factor for prostate cancer risk is selenium supplementation. Selenium is a trace mineral which most studies show has cancer preventive effects. And yet there's a couple of studies that, again, these were epidemiological studies that showed a relationship between selenium supplementation and increased risk of prostate cancer. Again, here we go. Correlation does not prove causation. There was no direct relationship shown between selenium and prostate cancer. Okay, now since I talked about some of the things that increase the risk for prostate cancer, let me mention a couple of things that are known to decrease the risk for prostate cancer. The first and foremost, with the strongest evidence, is physical activity, exercise. When you exercise, you greatly decrease, even if you have the genetics, like if your father or uncle or grandfather, if they had prostate, if you exercise regularly and habitually, you greatly lower your risk of prostate cancer. Why? Because exercise decreases systemic inflammation. And inflammation is a huge risk factor for any type of prostate cancer. So exercise is a very important way to decrease your risk for prostate cancer. Eating fish, especially fatty fish high in omega-3 fatty acids, mackerel, sardines, halibut, what else? Salmon, of course, salmon. All of these fish are high in omega-3 fatty acids. And fish, also the taurine content of fish, all of these will help prevent prostate cancer. Tomatoes, which are high in a carotenoid called lycopene. Studies have shown that consuming tomatoes rich in lycopene decreases the risk of prostate cancer by as much as 63%. Why? Because lycopene is a very potent antioxidant, and lycopene concentrates more in the prostate gland than in any other part of the body. And believe me, nature doesn't do anything haphazardly. If for some reason lycopene concentrates in the prostate gland, it's there for a reason. And I suspect that the reason why lycopene concentrates in the prostate gland is because it neutralizes what they call oxidation effects or oxidants, like reactions in free radicals, which can cause cancer. So again, lycopene. And a little interesting factoid is that cooked tomatoes, the lycopene is more available in cooked tomatoes than in raw tomatoes, because when you cook the tomatoes, it kind of breaks open the kind of cell wall in the tomatoes, and it's easier for the release of lycopene in cooked tomatoes. If you use lycopene supplements, look for a supplement that contains the entire tomato complex, not just lycopene. In other words, there's other factors. Studies have shown that lycopene alone is not as effective at helping to prevent prostate cancer as some other factors that are also found with lycopene in tomatoes. There's a proprietary type of supplemental lycopene. It's called Lycomato. Lyco-O-M-A-T-O. This was produced, or let's say developed, by Israeli scientists, and this is the best type of lycopene supplement to use because it contains the entire tomato complex. So if you're going to take a lycopene supplement, make sure, look at the label, make sure it's derived from Lycomato rather than straight lycopene. Straight lycopene will do very little to prevent prostate cancer. Strangely enough, the fat that's found in vegetables, natural vegetable fat, also it decreases the risk of prostate cancer. I'm not sure why. The next thing that decreases the risk is cruciferous vegetables such as broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, bok choy. All of these things contain elements that neutralize or carcinogens which help prevent cancer. Broccoli, for example, is rich in something called glucophananin. When you chew the broccoli or you cook it, there's an enzyme called myronase in the broccoli that converts the glucophananin into sulforaphane. And sulforaphane is the active protective ingredient in broccoli that helps prevent cancer. But if you're going to eat broccoli, make sure you don't overcook it. If you decide to cook broccoli, lightly steamed or very short microwaving, or eating it raw. Don't cook the broccoli because sulforaphane is very unstable and it'll be destroyed by heat. This is good news to a lot of people. Another substance that decreases the risk for prostate cancer is coffee. There's a number of natural antioxidants in coffee that, again, help prevent some of the oxidation effects associated with the onset of prostate cancer. Now, a lot of people don't like to eat soy, but the substances in soy called isoflavones, like genistein and diadesin, these things are structurally similar to estrogen, but because of that, they seem to help prevent prostate cancer. And people in Asian countries that eat a pretty decent amount of soy show extremely low rates of prostate cancer in men. Tea also, green tea and even black tea contains elements, again, epicatechin gallate and other substances that seem to actually directly destroy prostate cancer tumors. So I think that about covers it. The thing I want to leave you with is that don't be afraid of eggs in relation to prostate cancer. It's complete BS. Again, I hate to be redundant, but I'm going to say it again. A lot of these epidemiological studies where they study a large number of people, they look for trends, like if the people eat certain foods, but they never establish a cause and effect relationship. To prove that something causes, let's say, prostate or breast cancer or whatever, you have to show a direct cause and effect. In other words, how does this particular food cause cancer? And again, with prostate cancer, you have the added problem is that prostate tumor cells actually produce their own their own choline. So that's another factor. Correlation does not prove causation. You keep that in mind. And these epidemiological studies are constantly being released, and the popular press jumps on them. They jumps on it and they come to the wrong conclusion. So and so known to cause cancer, this and that. But if it's an epidemiological study, it's not proof of anything. It's only a possible trend. It's not a direct cause. So those of you who like to eat eggs, continue to do so. There's another problem with eggs related to something called TMAO, which I've written about in my Applied Metabolics. I'm going to do very shortly, I'm going to be doing an update on the TMO factor, which is supposedly causes a number of diseases, including atherosclerosis, cardiovascular. That's what they say. But I'm going to look at the evidence in this article. So that's about it. I myself, just so you know, as they say, full disclosure, I eat, let me see, I'll tell you how much eggs I eat. I eat an average of 8 eggs a week. I eat 8 to 10 eggs a week. I eat. Years ago, Vince Gironda, a famous trainer, Vince Gironda or Gironda, whichever way you want to pronounce it, he used to consider eggs the most anabolic food of all, and he advised eating up to 30 eggs, fertile eggs. He felt that fertile eggs had special growth components in them. He'd have bodybuilders eating 30 eggs a day. 30 eggs a day. Think about that. That's more than 2 dozen eggs a day. And quite a few I didn't do it, but I was on a meat and egg diet, but I ate maybe 12 eggs a day. I never got up to 30 eggs a day. And I hasten to add, not a single one of these bodybuilders on 30 eggs a day ever got prostate cancer. So I'll leave it at that. If you want more information on nutrition, exercise science, anti-aging research, ergogenic aids, effective fat loss techniques, supplement science, which supplements work, which ones don't, women's health and fitness, and many other topics. Applied Metabolics covers more topics than any other digital publication, and it's written in a magazine style, which makes sense since I wrote for magazines for 40 years. I know how to write for the public. It's very easy to read. It doesn't have a lot of technical terms. If it does, the technical terms are immediately translated, so you don't have to reach for a medical dictionary or anything like that to understand what I've written. It's extremely useful. You'll learn something in every issue, no matter what your level of previous knowledge. I guarantee that. I don't care if you have advanced degrees or whatever. It's extremely in-depth publication. It's anywhere from 30 to 45 or 47 pages a month. No advertisements. It's completely evidence-based. And if there is something I write about, that's my opinion. I state it as such, so I don't confuse the readers into accepting my opinion as fact. So again, I cover both sides of an issue. I don't just try and politicize it by saying one thing is good, nothing's bad. I always give you the both sides of an issue, so I let you make up your mind. You, the intelligent reader, can decide whether something is useful to you or not. So subscribe today. Subscribe today at www.appliedmetabolics.com. When you subscribe, send me an email and I'll send you an invitation to join the private Applied Metabolics Facebook page, where each day I post new information on nutrition, exercise science, and anti-age nutrition, exercise science. I skipped on my script. Nutrition, exercise science, and general health and medicine. I have an email portal on my Applied Metabolics website where each day, no, not each day, I'm screwing up again, where current subscribers only can send me short questions about anything they read in Applied Metabolics that they want more information on, or anything that comes to mind about nutrition, exercise. And as a bonus for their subscription to Applied Metabolics, and as an appreciation of this subscription to Applied Metabolics, I will answer their questions. Of course, this only applies to current subscribers of Applied Metabolics. I don't answer unsolicited questions. People who want to ask me unsolicited questions, meaning that you're not a subscriber, you could set up a personal consult with me for an additional fee. But that's a different situation. I also will add, so subscribe today, www.appliedmetabolics.com. You won't be sorry. Believe me, it's extremely useful information. It incorporates my over 61 years of experience and knowledge that cannot be matched by anyone else. I don't care how many PhDs, MDs, or whatever degrees they have. In certain things you cannot beat actual knowledge and experience. So if you think my videos are of any value, please let others know about this channel, and of course subscribe to it yourself. It's free, doesn't cost you anything. I post new videos every Tuesday early in the morning. I'm also open to suggestions. For any of you viewing this video, if you have any ideas for future videos that you think would interest a large group of people, I'll try to do a video on it if there's sufficient scientific evidence to support one conclusion or another. I've gotten a couple of weird requests over the years, which one guy wanted me to do a video on urine therapy, where you drink your own urine, and for some reason, I didn't think that would interest a large group of people. I did, however, refer him to a notable text. It's called Yellow Streams by I.P. Daly, where he could find all he needs to know about urine therapy. If you want to have the best friend you'll ever have, go to your local shelter, adopt a dog. They're fantastic. They're great. I'm going to get a dog very soon. I know you keep hearing this, but trust me, I will get a dog. I can't stand not having a dog. I had my dog Bruno for 20 years, and not having him here drives me nuts. Trust me. Take care. Thank you for listening.